All right, welcome to Hollandaise 1 that's made with clarified butter. Now I have 8 egg yolks in a bowl here, and I'm going to put a little bit of cold water in here, probably about 1.5 to 2 ounces. I want to make it just a little bit slushy, but not too much. And I have boiling water here, and a saucepan. That turned out to be about 1/3 of a cup there. That's it. That's 8 egg yolks. Now you should always figure, now I'm putting it on the simmering water, and we're going to begin mixing it. The Hollandaise sauce, which is a warm sauce, of course, and is also known as an emulsified sauce. Emulsified refers to two things becoming one thing. In this particular case, we're going to cook the egg yolks and then marry the cooked egg yolk with clarified butter, and that would be what we're emulsifying together. There is a Hollandaise sauce that's made with whole butter, which is Hollandaise 2, if you'd like to look at that later. So you want to be sure the #1 priority when you're cooking the eggs for the Hollandaise sauce is that you don't scramble the eggs. If you scramble the eggs, instead of just getting them cooked by having hot heat but not enough to scramble them, then you'll have to throw them out if you scramble them, of course. So we're cooking the egg, and we're going to take it off the fire after it's cooked. I'll show you how to determine when it's cooked. And if it gets a little bit hot, you think it's cooking too fast, you remove it from the fire for a second and put it back on. And remember, one of the things that you're doing when you're cooking eggs like this, or anything where that's being cooked with heat like this, is when you whisk it, you're actually assisting in the cooling process. So the faster you whisk, the longer it takes to cook it, because you're kind of cooling it off slightly as you're whisking it. So if you think it's cooking fast, you can whisk faster, besides taking it off the heat, and that will also tell you, or I mean rather assist you in preventing the eggs from scrambling. So we're getting close there. Now the basic formula for the proportions of sauce, proportions should usually be measured as 1 egg yolk per serving. And if you use about 2 to 3 tablespoons of melted clarified butter for each egg yolk, that would be a good measurement to get your products lined up for it. So it's starting to cook. You see, noticing that it's getting a little thicker. Okay, and I'm being extra careful now as I get to the final process, because that's when it either scrambles or doesn't. As it gets to a certain point where you want to take it to almost as far as you can take it without scrambling it. But if you let it go over that particular point, you will have scrambled eggs. Now, it doesn't mean you can't have small nodules of scrambled egg mixed into the side that may have cooked a little bit more on the bowl than the stuff that's in the middle being whisked. But that's going to be strained out, because we're going to strain the sauce when we're done. Okay, we are just about there. I'm cautiously looking at it now. Make sure I'm getting it right. There we go. That's it. It's done. So when it's done, it's done. What you don't see when it's done is that when you go like this, you don't have little yellow streaks showing up down here in the little ribbons that form when you after it's cooked like this. If you have little yellow streaks, that means you have raw egg in there. Now we'll add the clarified butter in small increments, being sure that the clarified butter itself is not too hot. Because at this stage in making the Hollandaise sauce, one can break the sauce by either adding too hot of butter too quickly and letting the sauce build up too much heat, and then it will separate. You won't have any emulsion. And the other way that you can break it is by adding too much butter in the increments that you're adding each individual time. So, and remember what I said earlier about the cooling process. The cooling process, which is initiated by you when you're adding the butter, is determined by how much you whisk it. Like I said, so if you want to keep it cool and add your butter faster, just whisk it faster, and you'll reduce the threat of it getting too hot and breaking at the same time. You want to make sure that the previous amount of clarified butter is fully incorporated through the whisking process before you add the next amount. Now here's another little trick so you don't have to hold the bowl. You can just set this here and you get to a certain point. Now the bowl doesn't move around so much. Now it's at this point that the cook decides how thick they want their Hollandaise sauce to be. One can make it extremely thick like mayonnaise. You can stand up a light spoon in it, or you can make it a little bit lighter. Because the important thing is that you have all the primary ingredients of hollandaise sauce flavor, not so much that the texture is like mayonnaise. I think I have enough clarified butter in here for me, which I had 8 egg yolks, and I put, about 1.25 cups there, clarified butter. Now quickly, I'll show you a small trick with a lemon, and that is lemons, of course, juice better when they're at room temperature rather than cold. You want to just use a little bit of juice in your lemon. You can cut a few holes in it. You can take the juice out of the lemon, and then you still have some juice left in the lemon, but you don't have to wrap the lemon up with plastic wrap or anything like that. It's just ready to go back into the fridge. And then we're going to put a little bit of white pepper in here. Now, some cooks, of course, put cayenne pepper or Tabasco sauce in their hollandaise, and the recipe we're doing here would be traditional with cayenne pepper as an option. The old French versions of hollandaise sauce, so some have cayenne pepper and some don't. All right. Now we're going to give our sauce a taste to make sure we have enough salt, which we do not. And just a pinch more. There we go. Keep in mind now, you want to be careful you don't want too much salt in your hollandaise sauce, because the sauce itself will condense slightly as it cools down a little bit, and there'll be less sauce for the proportionate amount of seasoning that's in it. So you want to be careful you don't make it to the maximum amount of salt that it needs right after you make it, because as it condenses, it might get a little salty. Okay, now we'll strain the sauce. Just in case we got a little scrambled egg nodules, as you can see along the side of the bowl here. Okay. Okay, there we go. Well, it didn't look like we had any scrambled eggs in there. Just a couple little babies in there. That's it. Okay. I guess that means I did good with this. The important thing is that you do good with this, and I hope that all the things I've talked to you about today will assist you when it's time for you to make your hollandaise sauce. Now, I would store this in a warm place while I'm waiting to use it, maybe cover it up a little bit like this. If I had to, a little later, after it was being held, and I thought it got a little bit stodgy or a little bit thick, or I had kept it around for maybe an hour and a half, you put a little tablespoon of warm water in it and mix it, and that'll smooth it up and bring it back to temperature. And good luck with your hollandaise sauce.
Okay, the sweet and sour sauce is 1 cup of tomato sauce, 1 cup of pineapple juice, 1/4 cup of honey, 3 tablespoons of lemon juice, 1½ tablespoons of cornstarch, 1½ teaspoons of onion powder, 1¼ teaspoons of salt, and 1/2 teaspoon of garlic powder.
Well, I like this recipe, Joanne, because it doesn't have the vinegar and all the other additives and stuff that regular sweet and sour sauce would have.
There you go. Yep. And this is fast. We're just going to put everything right into the saucepan, and that's all we have to do. If you want to add your ingredients over there, and
sure.
I'll put my things in. There's my tomato sauce.
Okay. And this is the lemon juice?
Lemon
is
juice.
It freshly squeezed?
That's not. It's just bottled.
Okay, good.
Yep. And pineapple juice.
Here's the salt.
Salt, and I've got the honey.
Is this the cornstarch?
Cornstarch, yep.
Now that'll thicken it, right?
Yeah.
And what are these guys? Is that onion? I don't know.
Onion powder and garlic powder.
Okay.
Yep, that's all there is to it. And then I like to use a whisk. A whisk is easy if you're going to, you know, if you're going to have cornstarch. A whisk is probably the fastest way to get it to blend in there so that you don't have the lumps.
Yes, otherwise you have lumpy sweet and sour sauce.
Yeah. And so with this, when you're cooking cornstarch in something, you really want to bring it up to a boil. And you want it to lightly boil for about a minute. And that's really all it takes for cornstarch, is about a minute, and then it's done. And so that's all there is to the sweet and sour sauce. You just spoon it over the meatballs.